Hi everyone, I hope you're doing super well. It is Lab Week. I just wanted to wish you happy Lab Week and hope that you are all taking part in the festivities, especially any pizza that has been ordered or any food that is going to be shared this week. I know that we're all food driven, me included. But I also wanted to come on here and share a mission moment with you. I know that we all have our reasons why we are in healthcare or why we joined the lab or why we decided to be nurses. And, I hear people say, I want to help people. I love helping people. And I think that's a really awesome reason. I think it's a great reason to be in healthcare. But I also know that we all have our deeper reasons why. Who are we doing this for? Why are we doing this? Something has probably influenced us along the way that has convinced us that we need to make a difference and that this is our calling. And so some of you have heard my story before, so I hope that you don't mind hearing it again, and some of you haven't. So I just wanted to share just one of my whys, and I can share a few more with you too, but this is one of my main ones. So it all started for me when I was in 7th grade. So I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. Dosey. Irene, that was her actual name, Irene. So my mom is a teacher, and I would go to school early with her because she would worked at the same place I went to school. I know, it was a rough life, you guys. It was very rough. So I'd be in the cafeteria early in the morning while my mom prepped her classroom. And Mrs. Dosey, I remember her vividly. I would remember her walking into the cafeteria several times over the times that I had spent there in the mornings and seeing her. Thinking back now, she's probably not a morning person. But I remember her being like tall and intimidating and just very stern looking, and I'm short and little and just, I was so intimidated by her. I was so scared by her. Well, when it came to 8th grade, I heard that I had her for homeroom, which was also like literature and also for social studies. And so I was kind of like, this is going to be like, I'm not sure what to expect. She seems kind of scary. But in my 7th grade year, before that, I remember hearing rumors like, oh, Mrs. Dosey has cancer. And one of the things that I remember from my first days in 8th grade was that, I remember her having like super long reddish brown hair down her back. And on our first days of school, she had a really short wig on. And, being in 7th and 8th grade, we didn't really know what that meant or how to deal with someone who has cancer. And so we were all kind of like shocked to see that and not sure how to behave. So we had her for the first couple weeks of school, and we were just starting to get used to her, very dry sense of humor and her sarcasm. And then one day she just stopped coming to school. And she was gone for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks we had a substitute teacher, a pretty well-known substitute, who was also friends with Mrs. Dosey, with Irene. And so I remember vividly, very specifically, when she actually came back to school, we were all facing the front of the classroom and the door was behind us. And it was like in slow motion. We heard the door turning like a creak. And we all turned around and we saw Mrs. Dosey. She looked like hunched over and very small. This big, intimidating, just very confident person was small. The smallest version of herself I've ever seen. And she was actually holding the desks as she walked up to the front of the classroom. And our substitute left and said for us to welcome Mrs. Dosey, and Mrs. Dosey sat in her stool. She had a stool with a back on it. And as she sat in the stool, she was wearing a normal sweater that she would have worn before she had cancer. And then seeing her sitting in the stool then, she was swallowed in it. She was the smallest person ever. And, being the immature 8th graders that we are, one of the class clowns, Mac Wallace, I will never forget him. I think he's successful now. He just blurts out, "We heard you have cancer." And we're like, oh. And she kind of sat back, and her eyes started to well up. And I could see her because I was 2 seats from the front. And she said, "You know what? Yes, I have cancer. But I was just sitting at home for 3 weeks being sick, feeling sorry for myself. I was just sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. And I started to think about, like, what makes me so happy? Why do I come to school every day? Why do I show up? And it's you guys. You inspire me every day. I'm going to get, like, all choked up. And, you know, she was an amazing person. She said, you guys motivate me. I decided to stop being sorry for myself, and I was going to come to school and be your teacher. And so from that day on, you know, she was just full of life and energy, and wanted to teach us everything that she could. She wrote in my yearbook, "I'll always be with you," but because her handwriting was so terrible from all the chemo, it has like 3 L's in the word will, and it's all shaky, and it says bewitch you. And so that was our joke. She would always bewitch me. And she passed away the year after that next fall, after I had graduated, so a few months later, from an infection from her cancer. But she read us the book, The Giver, and she also read us The Christmas Carol, and she also read us Anne Frank, and she read us all these amazing books, and I cannot get the voice of her out of my head. So I reread these books all the time, and I have this copy on my desk, and I look at it every day. And so I told myself, you know, there are other reasons for me wanting to go into lab. Like, I had iron deficiency issues, so I got my blood drawn a lot, and I used to see what the lab was like in the basement of the hospital, and I thought that's cool. I also said it was going to be cancer. Save the world from cancer. Maybe I'll still do that. But Mrs. Dosey really showed me that you need to have perseverance and drive, but you also need to really value yourself and know, like, your purpose. So every day, you know, when I'm having a crap day, on the drive home, or when I'm at my desk, I say, Irene, and I've shared this with other people, I talk to Irene and I say, okay, if I was taking care of Irene, what would I do? It's people like Irene that get off their couch and they come here because they know that they matter, and it also helps, you know, other people. We help other people. So I hope that in this lab week, that you can take some time to yourself or with your peers and think about, like, yes, I want to help people, but what is your deeper why? Who is your deeper why? Okay, if you need a copy of The Giver, Christmas Carol, any of that, hit me up. All right, happy lab week. I hope you guys have a great one. Talk to you soon.